Hey, it's Howard Kneller. Welcome to another episode of the Listening Chair. We're glad to have you. Today, we're going to take a look at a review of the Adona
GXT Black Widow
component rack. It's a 4-tier rack. It's a high-performance rack. We'll check that out. We're going to review it. Today, we're going to do part one. We're going to do setup, and we'll explain a little bit about the technologies behind the rack. Before we do, just let me say, check out our new website, www.thelisteningchair.net. And also, it's been, I think everyone's been pretty loving the site pretty much. And also, we have on our Facebook, we have our group where people are posting, members of our group are posting photos of their systems from all over the world. And we have our Facebook page where we have news. Also on the website, we have news, audiophile and home theater news from all over the world. So check that out. Without any further ado, let's roll the tape. So before we take a look at the Adona
GXT Black Widow rack,
let's talk a little bit about racks in general, because racks can be a very anxiety-producing topic for audiophiles. First is the cost involved. They're typically, good racks are very expensive. Everything's very expensive these days, but racks in particular are expensive. And the cost comes after you've kind of shot your wad on components, speakers, cables, and the like. So now all of a sudden you have another big expense. What makes it even more anxiety producing is that every manufacturer seems to have a different technology that they're promoting. So there's really, like, take a look first, I guess, take a look at the materials that are used. Some manufacturers use wood, some use aluminum, some use carbon fiber, some use ceramic, some use glass, some use stone. Here, the Adona rack uses granite. And there's all different materials, and every manufacturer says that what they're doing is best. And I'm not a huge fan of wood. I typically, there's two kind of, let me just back up and say there's two kind of racks. There's furniture and there are performance racks, and they typically don't have a lot to do with each other. The furniture racks look nice. They'll hold your components. They won't necessarily improve your sound. Sometimes they'll often change the sound, but whether that's for the better is a different story. And you can't go by cost. There are some furniture racks that are extremely expensive and sold by high-end shops and carried by high-end distributors. So you really have to know what you're buying. But getting back to the different design theories, there's have all these materials. And what I've found over time is basically it's execution. That there's a lot of different ways to make a good rack. I don't know that there's one best or non-best, but one material I'm not so crazy about is wood. I don't see wood being very linear. I don't know how you control how everything sounds the same all the time using wood. Every shelf could be different. Every rack could be different. But I have heard one or two very good sounding wood racks. So it's really all about execution. And there's been a lot of thought on the Adona rack, as we'll see, as far as how they've executed with their granite, because granite could be very kind of zingy and it could be very bright sounding. And it all comes down to basically how they do it. Another note I just like to make is that I don't know about looking in the dictionary, but for me, with all the stuff that I've done with resonance control, with vibration control rather, I look at resonance as being different than vibration. Everything resonates. The Earth's core resonates at a certain frequency. Our bodies resonate at a certain frequency. Audio equipments, right? They resonate at a certain frequency. I don't really think you have too much control over those that type of phenomenon. But what we're looking to do is we're looking to manage vibrations, and that's something that we do have control over. And vibrations are essentially mechanical energy that's being transmitted. And you don't want to get rid of all vibrations, because in my experience, what you have then is a very quiet sounding rack that sounds also very dead sounding. So that's not good. So it's basically a mix, a balance. It's how, trial and error. You want to manage the vibrations. Some manufacturers shunt the vibrations to ground. Some turn them into heat. There's all different approaches. You just got to basically take it a step at a time. Don't let it overwhelm you. Find a manufacturer you trust and listen to it, and then you'll get good results. But that's basically the bottom, some of the thoughts that I've having on racks in general. I've reviewed some of them in the past, but let's now take a look at the Adona rack. What we're going to do in this video is in this part one video, we're going to basically set up the rack and talk about a little bit of its technologies. And then in the second part of the review, in part 2, we're going to review the rack and really check out its performance claims. So stay tuned. Okay, so now that we have everything all set up, let's take a look at what we have here. As indicated, we have basically a 4-shelf rack. We have a top rack, a top shelf of 21 by 27 inches, which is large, and that's perfect for a large component or a turntable, something like that. And then we have 3 18 by 18 inch shelves below that. And this is a made in the USA rack. Now, talking about the shelves, I think the shelves I find particular interest in. They're a multi-layer construction for each shelf. The top layer is granite, which is said to provide hard and high mass for stability. What the manufacturer, what Adona says here, is that granite can be very zingy in the high frequencies, but the way they do it, it's all about what kind of granite you get and how it's constructed. So they're using, granite is 4 minerals, and each piece of granite has a unique texture and a unique mineral pattern. So they look for stuff that they like at the company. So the top layer is granite for the high mass and for stability, very heavy. Actually, the company says that some granite can be really, really nasty to work with. So they pick out the granite that sounds really good. The thing that's important that the company says, other than the makeup of the granite, the mineral makeup, is the thickness. So they use about a little bit under 5/8 of an inch, and they say that using any more or using any less will not work. And then under the granite layer is an inner core mystery layer, which the company says functions as a bandpass filter, proprietary construction, so they're not going to really tell what that's about. They've told me that some folks have tried to reconstruct that at home, but they've never really been able to make that happen, so they're not going to talk too much about that. And then the lower or substrate level is MDF, which has the purpose, according to the company, of draining the energy from the top granite layer. One thing that I like, all this is explained in depth on Adona's website, so if you want more information there, either about the shelves or the other parts of the rack, just check out the website. And by the way, Adona states that the rack can hold, each shelf can hold 300 pounds, so that's a pretty heavy load. Moving on to the frame, it's an X-frame type of construction, aluminum for the vertical columns, steel cross beams. Looking at the columns, we have extruded aluminum, which the company says drains vibration down to ground. The columns are about 14.5 inches wide. They weigh about 2 pounds per foot, and they really have a lot, as I can attest, they really have a lot of strength and rigidity. And there's some other parts in here. There's the platform support brackets and some other aluminum pieces, and which allow you to direct couple or to float the shelves. But all these parts are very well made, really made of solid aluminum and really impressive. Then there's footers. Brass cones come with these. Again, really very heavy, very large cones, but also there are optional spikes and disc gliders. I think they put both into my package. So for mine, we have the glides under there so that this thing can be moved, but there's also use of the spikes once you know exactly where you're going to put it. That's about it. The shipping weight is about 200 pounds, so the actual weight of the rack is only going to be somewhat less than that. And all in all, it's a pretty impressive product. Okay, so that concludes part one of our review of the Adona
GXT Black Widow rack.
We've taken a look at the rack. We've also taken a look at a little bit of the technologies that it uses, and we've talked about racks in general. So stay tuned for part two where we discuss the rack's performance. Again, check us out on the web, thelisteningchair.net, also on Facebook under The Listening Chair, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.